modifying the subject. And we're only right now going to talk about prep phrases modifying the subject. They do modify verbs too, but we're not going to do those yet. So we're just focusing on prep phrases modifying the subject only. And they're going to come directly after the subject in the sentence. So let's look at the two examples on your paper. You've got two sentences that are very similar. They use a lot of the same words, but the position of the prepositional phrase is really going to make a difference. So in the first one, in my class is your prepositional phrase. We're going to bracket that first. And the is your article, boy is a noun, in preposition, my adjective, class noun, ran is your action verb, and around you do not have a phrase. So when it is by itself, it's going to be an adverb. So right now we're not doing anything with it. But if you take a look at the same sentence where we remove the prepositional phrase, now you have in my class right here, and you've still got the same parts of speech. This is an article, a noun, your action verb. Again, around is not in a phrase because you only have one preposition at the beginning of a prepositional phrase. And so in is your preposition, my is your adjective, class is your noun. So the labels are pretty much the same, but the difference is that in this one, in my class is right after the word boy. It's telling you which boy. It's the boy in my class, not the boy at my house, not the boy in the next class. It's the boy in my class that did this. So it's telling us which boy. It's answering an adjective question. So it's modifying boy. But if you look at this one, the boy ran around in my class. Now it's telling you where the boy ran. So the position of the prepositional phrase makes a difference. Really important to pay attention to. And right now, we're only going to do the ones that come right after a noun, or in this case, the subject. So let's look at your next sentence and parse it, and then we're going to diagram it. So it's the headmaster of my school gave me candy. So first of all, very first thing you do, find your prep phrases. Of my school, of is a preposition. The last word is always some sort of noun. That's a common noun. My tells you who, so it's an adjective. And then that's the only prepositional phrase we have. So I'm going to do the rest. The is an article. Headmaster is a noun. Candy is a noun. Me is a pronoun. And gave is an action verb. We know how to label all of those. So make sure that you've got all of those labeled, and then we're going to think about how we need to diagram it. So get your basic sentence diagram in front of you. And remember that because we're putting modifiers on the subject side, it's a good idea to make your subject side maybe a little bit bigger at this point. But you have to diagram the verb first. And we said the verb was gave. Make sure your G hangs below the line, and you put in gave. And then you have to ask yourself who or what gave. And in this case, it's headmaster. Okay, and if you made a mistake and you put candy, because that's another noun, but your candy didn't give anything away, right? So, and me didn't give, that doesn't sound right. So headmaster gave at least sounds correct. Okay, and then remember, we're putting modifiers for the subject. So we only have one modifier in front of headmaster, and it's the word the with a capital T. So you're going to go ahead and put that in. And I usually put it at the beginning because that was the first word. And then we have a prepositional phrase right after headmaster. So it's telling which headmaster. The headmaster of the school, not the headmaster of the local college. So it's got to go right underneath headmaster. Okay, remember when we did prepositional phrases? They were like that, and they were underneath a word. Well, now we know the word that it's attached to. So you're going to make the prep phrase lines right underneath that. Try not to get hanging out underneath your verb because it should be underneath headmaster. And then remember your prepositional phrase goes on the slanted line. Your object of the preposition goes on this line. And then any modifiers go underneath that. So it's my school. And then you have completely diagrammed this sentence. It's the headmaster, it's the headmaster of my school gave. We don't know how to diagram anything else at this point. We got all the things that modify the subject. And so right now we're done with what we're going to be diagramming for that particular sentence. All right, so let's look at your next sentence. My new friend at Tempe Preparatory School laughed uproariously. So if we're going to parse it, the very first thing you have to do is look for prepositional phrases. At Tempe Preparatory School is a prepositional phrase. You've got your preposition first, and then you have a proper noun with wings working together as your object of the preposition. Then you can go and find your articles. I don't see any. I found a noun. I look in front of the noun. I've got an adjective. It's a new friend. It's also my friend. I always keep looking in front until I run out of adjectives. And then I have to look for the verb. Laughed is the verb. Uproariously is describing laughed, so that's going to be an adverb later on. Now that we have it labeled, we can diagram it. Remembering that the very first thing we put in our diagram is the verb, and we said laughed was the verb. Then you have to ask yourself that question so you can find the subject. Who or what laughed? Friend. All right, and then we're going to look and see if there are modifiers for friend, and we had 2 adjectives. So we're going to put those in, starting with the first one, my. Remember to capitalize it. It's capitalized in the sentence. And then it's also new. And if you say them together, that's how you check. It's my friend, new friend. Both of those make sense. They're both describing friend. And then if you take a look, you have a prepositional phrase right after friend at Tempe Preparatory School. So remember how you do your prepositional phrases. You put your preposition on the slanted line, and then I'm going to let you go ahead and use TPA, the abbreviation, to put in the object of the preposition. And then you have finished diagramming that sentence. All right, so we are going to be, from now on, labeling all of the things that we've mentioned and diagramming. If you've got some questions, bring them with you tomorrow.